What's up, Latino Nation? My name is Tony Delgado, and welcome to Latino Wall Street Live here on FinTech TV. And today we have a very special guest, Brandon Dawson. Thank you so much for being here, my
Tony,
friend.
great to be with you, bud. Yeah.
So, you guys at 10X have been taking over the world. A lot of people say that you're the mastermind behind the exponential growth of the 10X movement. Let's talk a little bit, before we dive into all the new things that you guys are working on, your entrepreneurial journey and how you became an entrepreneur. Were you born with a silver spoon, or?
No, I was a little kid in Corvallis, Oregon, but my parents did divorce when I was 8. My mother moved to Minneapolis and I went with her. My father was a pastor. My stepfather was an entrepreneur. So that was my first exposure to being around an entrepreneur. And he ended up becoming a very successful entrepreneur. I got to witness him go from basically startup to a $300 million company before I left there and went and started my own business. He and my mother divorced, so it's kind of the end of the road for me. So I realized I needed to go do something on my own. So at 26, December 15th, 1995, I quit my job and started my first company.
Wow. And what do you think the difference is between entrepreneurs that make it and those that don't, right? We're in a space, in entrepreneurial space, where sometimes it gets exhausting because there's entrepreneurs, there's business people. What do you think is the difference between someone that has a dream and someone that's able actually to execute on it?
Yeah, well, there's really 3 kinds of entrepreneurs. You have successful entrepreneurs, failing entrepreneurs, and you have serial entrepreneurs. 97% are failing entrepreneurs. They're business owners that got a job, that didn't want to have a job. They didn't want to be told what to do. They didn't want to be held accountable. They didn't want a limitation on their earnings, so they started their own company. And a majority of them sit at home or sit in a small office working by themselves, making $72,000 a year. So that's not a business owner, right? And if you look at the stats, there's 34.5 million small to mid-sized businesses in the United States registered. There's 26 million that work by themselves. I don't call those businesses.
You're basically a freelancer at that point.
You're a freelancer, yeah. and really only 9% are over $1 million. So it's very difficult to build something over $1 million. And 98% of those businesses are stuck at 3 million or less, with 12 employees or less. And so you're still an owner-doer at that point. So I always try to remind business owners there's this process that you transcend to become what you give yourself a title for. The first is if you start your business, you're a founder for sure, and you're a business owner. It isn't until about 8 to 15 million you actually become an entrepreneur, because entrepreneurs realize I'm not going to do anything if I'm not going to build value. And if they're no good at it, they go out of business. If they're good at it, they'll build multiple companies and create lots of value. Serial entrepreneurs become, I'm good at creating multiple companies and creating multiple value. About 50 to 75 million, you become a chief executive officer, because you realize it's about compliance, it's about long-term strategy, it's about incentives for your teams, it's about capital structures, and it's about debt to equity ratios, and it's about valuation curves, and it's about all these things, technology that you got to bring in, bigger mission, bigger purpose. At about 125 to 150, you become an investor, because you realize this was really freaking hard, and if anybody else wants my money, it comes with its own requirements, and it doesn't come with me. And so that's kind of the transformation successful people go through, but most people fail.
So to switch gears, I guess, now to like venture capital, right?
Yeah.
But angel investing, right? High risk,
Yeah.
But also high reward on the ones that make it, right? And everyone loves to talk about the Uber, the Airbnb, the big companies that make it and have a 1,000x return on their angel investment. But to your point earlier, right, most startups fail. So when do you think it's the right time for companies to start looking for capital? And what do you look for before you make those investments?
I mean, if you think about it, if 96% of businesses fail and your first round of financing is friend or family, it makes the holiday season suck. Right? Because your uncle's over there, that's the one that lost all my money for me, right? What I suggest to people is learn how to build a business without needing somebody else's money. It's the safest way to do it. And then force the business to do its job. There's only 2 reasons to have a business: to give the life to the courageous founder that started it, because it's going to be a pain in the ass building it. And then secondarily, to give that same life to the people that founder needs, because if he doesn't develop those people and they don't win, they stand. And so what happens is most business owners start to succeed and then they freeze. because they can't quite control the things around them. And they didn't start a business because they wanted to create long-term value and they wanted to create enterprise value. They started a business because they didn't want a job. They didn't want to be told what to do. They wanted to do their own thing. And then they project that on everyone they hire, which is, I didn't want to be told what to do, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. And then they get frustrated and pissed and people don't do anything. It's a vicious cycle. I call it being in the washing machine. It just goes around and around and around. But there is actually a science to building a business to 125 million. And if you can learn the science and you can learn the elements that the 3% that succeed actually use to be successful, we've watched business owners flourish and prosper. And to prove the point, I built my last business using everything I built as the prototype, sold it for 77 times EBITDA to $1 billion company. And then in 3 years, we grew them from 1 to 4.5 billion. Then I partnered with Grant Cardone because he was innovating the crowdfunding space and multifamily. And what I wanted to innovate was the business space with buying and acquiring businesses with venture and private equity. So I saw what he was doing, and he's the only one on the planet that's done it. And today he's the only person that's raised over $2 billion in crowdfunding with his community, buying some of the best assets that competes directly against the best assets at Wall Street that most people would never get access to. I want to do the same thing for business.
Wow. And so when you're investing into businesses, what are the things that you look for?
Mostly the opportunity, because most business owners don't see the opportunity. They just see if they're succeeding or not. So the first thing I do is I look at if you look at the top 3 reasons business owners state that they fail is 1, no demand for product or service. So obviously I look for things that have demand for product or service. The second is they say they fail because they can't find good talent. So I look for business owners that I can help that actually understand that the problem isn't finding talent. The problem is they don't understand how to develop talent. It's a different thing. And one takes a leadership role, the other takes a victim role. And then the third equation is the reason they go out of business is can't get financing, can't get funding, or can't make money. Well, that's because most business owners never learn the money game. They don't actually understand what building a business to value means. And so if I find someone with a good business and they're a good person who's pliable, they're willing to learn, sometimes it comes out of frustration. We can do all sorts of magical things because we would only go into marketplaces where there's evidence. And for example, we had a guy and his wife that owned a little healthcare company. I had been engineering and I was the chairman of several healthcare companies. And their little company kept me healthy during COVID. And I told Grant, we need to have a bunch of these businesses. And he said, well, I tried to do it with this guy, but we couldn't do it. It didn't work. So I acquired that business. And in 36 months, it went from 1.8 million to 125 million. And this year we'll do 170 million. And we're just launching globally now in 46 countries. Now, what's the difference between the ability to do that and the person that had it for 5 years that couldn't break 1.8 million? It wasn't the business opportunity. It wasn't the people's fault. It wasn't lack of money. We're here in Wall Street right now in New York, and it's somebody's birthday behind us, and they must have traded well today because they're also having a happy day singing happy birthday. So there's so many great opportunities out there. It's just people don't know how to go and extract that value.
And when you're building teams, right, it reminded me of a story, right? You're an entrepreneur, so you want to hire entrepreneurs. You want to treat them all like entrepreneurs. And I remember maybe 10 years ago, the founder of the startup that I was working at, he's giving a speech and he's like, yeah, quit your job and just do your own thing. You don't need your boss. Yeah. And I'm like, all 10 of us are about to quit and just go start our own company. So how do you build a culture so that people don't want to break off and do their own thing and they want to be part of that shared mission?
Well, you just mentioned something very specifically. And this is what I call the entrepreneurial dilemma. So your boss was saying that to everybody, fully unconscious and unaware that he's telling his own employees that they should leave. If you look at why people start their company, it's not because they want financial freedom. It's not because they want to create high net worth. It's because they don't want to be told what to do. They don't want a boss. They don't want a limitation on their earnings. They don't want to be held accountable. So they go start their own business. And then they get on this soapbox. Be that person. But if you read Gallup poll every year and you listen to 100 million US workers and you look at the ones that are most actively engaged where they work, they want to be developed, they want to be led, they want to be nurtured, they want to be rewarded, and then fifth, they want to be compensated. So what an employee actually wants and needs is entirely different than what a lunatic founder who doesn't want to answer to anybody is the reason they started their business. And they think, though, they're delusional because they don't know any better. They think everybody's like them. And the truth is that's why they struggle. And it's the entrepreneurial dilemma, because now I'm going to hire you. I'm going to put you in a position and I'm going to treat you the way I wanted to be treated, which is left alone. And then when it doesn't work over time, because that's not what employees need, employees want to succeed in a structure. They want to be nurtured. They want to be led. They want to be cared for. They want to feel like they're a part of a team. The entrepreneur is ignoring them and getting pissed at them when they don't do what the entrepreneur thinks or the business owner thinks they should do. And so until they become an entrepreneur, which is someone that actually realizes we shouldn't do anything if there's no value creation, and I'm not going to attract anybody if they're not aligned with the value creation, and changes their communication from everyone should quit their job and do their own thing to we're a team, we're going to conquer as a team, you're going to win as a team, I'm going to help you. Because the true definition of leadership is making other people's success easy. If I'm not doing that, I'm not leading you. And if I'm not leading you, I can't teach you to be a leader. And the problem with businesses is that in order for the business to grow and scale, people have to grow and scale. Because scientifically, as certain as gravity, when you start your business, you need strong me leadership because you need resilience and fortitude. It's going to be hard. If by the time you go to 8 to 15 million, you don't have we leadership, which is at least 3 of you all pulling together because the weight of all the teams underneath you are pulling you backwards. You still don't know what you're doing. It's clunky, but you have each other. At 45 to 75 million, there's got to be 80 of you running the company, and it's got to be us leadership, which is when your culture in your organization dictates who stays and who goes, because you have high operational effectiveness, unless you're going out of business when you lose your best people. So if you look at the successful businesses, you have to apply the leadership principles, and it starts with me, then we, then us, and if you can't get there, you're not growing.
And how did you then apply those principles that we're discussing in 10X Health? And you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing over at 10X Health and how you were able to have exponential growth in that marketplace?
Yeah, well, I noticed because I had clients that were doing this, what I call human optimization space, this wellness space, IVs, red light therapy, supplements, genetics, things of this nature, blood work, peptides. But
so it's science, but it's almost anti-big pharma in a little bit of a way.
It's emerging science, because a lot of it's also ad hoc-ish, figuring it out. Mom and pop pharmacies, mom and pop physicians that the other physicians make fun of and say they're doing stuff that's not real. A lot of voodoo out there. Oh, that's not even real stuff. Well, the science is proving that the traditional physicians actually are the ones that have been doing it wrong. And so I saw this shift, and I saw what it was doing for me and Grant and the people that we were working with. And I told Grant, we need to start our own business here. So I bought that little business, made the owner of that business a partner and his wife a partner, and then renamed it 10X Health. And really, at the crux of what we do, it's about human optimization and longevity instead of healthcare. Like, it is healthcare. It's wellness, preventative, and all that. But it's really focused around human optimization and longevity, because the idea is if you don't get sick and you don't feel ill, you're going to feel great and you're going to be more productive and you're going to love life more. Because I have a lot of friends that are wealthy, but they're sick and they're not happy. They're miserable, actually. So what I wanted was something that we could go create. Grant and Elena said to my wife and I, Natalie, who's my partner and the president of the companies, Grant and Elena, Natalie and I were postulating one day, and we said, what business could we have that could literally touch 8 billion people? And I said, I know, it's the only one that it can be is healthcare. So we launched that business. And what we do is genetic testing, a couple different variations, a couple different price points. And from the genetic test, it tells us where you have deficiencies in your genome. And the reason people age and get sick and don't feel well and have fatigue and brain fog is because of what they're deficient in, not because they have disease in a lot of cases. It's only later from inflammation and other issues, including drugs that they get prescribed, that they get disease because it wasn't treated earlier on. And so if we can get to people while they're like, I'm not optimized, right? And we can optimize them by replacing what they're deficient in. So that's the genetics. Then when we take the blood, we look at it and say, in real time, what's going on in the body? Is what you're doing working for or against you? And as you age, things are going to naturally work against you. So what you want to do is strategically time replenishing what you're losing so that you don't feel the effects or your body doesn't have the consequences of the effects of aging. And you can do that through supplementation. You can do it through IV therapy. You can do it before you're type 1, type 2 diabetes if you're putting the right things in your body and you're eating correctly and you're aware of what that looks like. So how do you bring all that to a very dysfunctional space? Nutritionalists, functional doctors, chiropractors, everyone you go to has a different opinion. So we know that the only way you can put the decision in your hand is with an app. You can shoot your food, you can log your food, you can look at how many hours you're sleeping, you can look at your glucose monitoring, and all normal ranges, not normal ranges for population of humanity, normal ranges for you and your body, individually. That's the precision. It has to be about you. It can't be about the averages of everything else. Once you identify what your baseline is, you can start augmenting and complementing. Start with supplementation, IVs, supplements, precision supplements made for you by us. You can eat the right foods to put the right things in your body. You can access new cellular therapies that will help reduce inflammation and rebuild things in your body and repair. But if you're aware of it and it's available to you and you're paying attention to it, then you can move yourself to what kind of skin do you want? Do you want optimized skin? Because we have, based on your genetics and your blood, we can now make you optimized skincare so you're generating from the inside with supplementation, and you're also putting precision lotions on the outside that are made for you. Optimize performance sensor we have. So what's the right way for you to train? Do you want to add strength? Do you want to add muscle? Do you want to stay the same? Do you want to lose weight? And what is generated from all those reports is something that's made for you that you can carry around with you. For me, there's over 100 nutrients that put back in my body what I'm deficient in.
Really?
Every day.
And this is it?
This is our system. It's got my name on it. We make them in 90 days.
And so
packets.
these are the exact vitamins for you?
For me, based on my genetics first, and then vary based on my blood work. And then I take those, and they're made in our microbead. We're the only ones with this microbead technology. And the reason that those microbeads are different sizes is because then the certain supplements, a lot of people take a handful of supplements and they contradict each other and wash each other out. Or they digest in your stomach in a way where it doesn't absorb. These are made, these microbeads absorb as they go through your whole tract, so they're absorbing and time released, so you absorb maximum amount.
Oh, wow.
And then these are our weight management supplements. So based on my genetics, these would be all different colors depending on how your body processes fat or carbs. And I take this before I eat, and what it does is it traps what I don't want to get in my bloodstream, and then it expels it out by trapping it, and then it goes through your system and you expel it out. These are both made precision for me based on my DNA, based on my blood, and they replenish and replace what I'm deficient in. So every day I feel like I'm ready to climb on top of the mountain. Then you can introduce things like exosomes and stem cells and things of that nature, which aren't real prevalent in the US. They're starting to go that way, but they are in other places in the world. Things like cancer treatments, things of that nature. So there's all sorts of amazing things coming out that can optimize a human being, keep them healthy and well, and it's at the fingertip of your own phone. So you can track everything, how well you're sleeping, if you're ingesting the right things.
So there's a 10X health app? Oh, wow.
And we're advancing it right now. What we've been doing the last 18 months is we've been taking 10 years of life sciences based on genetic, based on blood, triple peer-reviewed life sciences, and we over 250,000 patients we've been working with, and we're building all our own AI data sets. And the reason this is important is that when you do your genetic test and we give you your personal prescriptive genetic disposition, and then what to do to optimize yourself as a human being, we load that into your app, which will be the case in about 6 months. And then you can be asking your AI avatar based on your personal 8 billion individual people, your personal circumstances. Is this good for me? What do I do about this? If I'm not feeling good, what might it be? And then if that AI avatar built for you needs to go beyond that, you just push a button and talk to our medical team. And if you need to go further than that, you can push a button and get on FaceTime and you can talk directly to one of our MDs or nutritionalists or whatever you need to talk to. What I want to do is eliminate all the friction in healthcare and bring instantaneous information to a human being anywhere in the world at a price point they can afford, so that we can actually change healthcare. Because in the United States, it's $14,500 per capita. We rank 167th, which I think is right next to something like Vietnam, which spends $100 a year on their people. So we know healthcare is not optimized and not good in most places around the world. So if we can create an environment, and as scalability goes, as you get more people and you reduce costs and you're able to streamline supply chain, this is what consolidation is in business. You have your own manufacturer of pharmacy and peptides. You have your own manufacturer of supplementation. You have your own equipment that you build. Now, the equipment to build this, one line of equipment is $28 million. So if I'm only building this for 1,000 people, it's going to be a lot more expensive than if I'm building it for 10 million or 100 million. So as we get bigger around the world, which we now are moving into 46 countries, we're authorized by those governments through the different acquisitions we've done in the UK and partnerships we've created. We've just announced the UK expansion, the UAE expansion in the Middle East. We're going to Asia next. As we add millions of people and add millions of dollars of equipment, we can bring costs down and we can deliver more efficiently, more effectively, and target 8 billion people to impact their lives, personally, professionally, financially. If they feel better, they'll use our tools and resources to invest with Grant and I in the multifamily real estate and in the Bitcoin fund and all the innovations Grant's doing on that side of the house, or they can invest with us in starting, growing, scaling, optimizing, and exiting at high values in small businesses, turning them into big businesses that create life for the employees, the business owner, kind of bypassing Wall Street and then accessing Wall Street at the right time so that Main Street can be Wall Street. And we're bringing these investments to Main Street, and they invest through Grant and I into our proprietary platforms, and then they get to take a piece of Wall Street, but by bypassing everyone in the middle, taking all the money out so they can get the money.
Wow. So your goal is to make this more accessible. I think that even it's going to get to a point, and maybe it already has, where people are using 10X Health and they've never even heard of Grant or any of the other personalities behind it.
My
right?
goal is to be, if you think about the old slogan when Intel owned the computer space, they didn't want to be the computer, they wanted to be Intel inside. So my goal is, even though we will have flagships and we coordinate, we're rolling out inside of other people's flagships, health and wellness centers, my goal really is to be the global leader in doing the genetic testing, doing the blood testing, doing the prescriptive and the AI analytics, and then delivering in real time to a consumer or a patient who then can go into their local physician in a micro market and get the attention they need from somebody that we've certified as the type of doctor, the type of physician, the type of practice, medical professional who knows what they're talking about relative to human optimization, not critical care and putting you on drugs because that's all they've been taught in medical school.
I love that. Such an important mission. And it actually reminds me, we worked with the Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the Make America Healthy Super PAC. And it reminds me of that where, in the beginning it was just Kennedy and people were looking up to Kennedy. And then when he endorsed Trump, it became Make America Healthy and people got behind that. And now there's people that, they're Maha and, it has to do with Kennedy, but it's almost becomes its own thing. It takes on a life of its own.
Because those people have been suppressed. And anybody that had an opinion going back to if he should or shouldn't get the vaccination, there was no evidence, no proof. There's still physicians in my family that will defend it and still go get the jab. And then there's, I try to show them the stats and the data. More people have died from doing that than would ever died during COVID. Mm-hmm. Now I get that nobody knew that when it came out and that there was a panic and everything, but here's the thing. The traditional healthcare system has been rigged. They're telling you and they're co-conspiring to put drugs in you, to give you food that hurts you, the cancer treatments that destroy, and I'm not judging how it got there because I'm not that sophisticated and I don't want to say people were intentionally doing things wrong. What I am saying is that there is hard evidence, there is another way, bigger, better, and more valuable to treat people, to have a better life, and it's been suppressed. And now, because of Donald J. Trump and who he has surrounded himself with, it will no longer be suppressed, and all these innovative new age opportunities that are backed by science but been suppressed will come to the forefront of the marketplace, become mainstream, and when it does, it'll become less expensive, it'll be more optimal for human beings, and it will drive the need for critical care down to maintenance, optimization, and then wellness. And if we can get there, you can do it you can feel good, look good, be good, eat good,
and make America healthy again.
and be healthy, healthy and happy.
Thank you so much again for being on the show. If people want to find out more about 10X Health, where should they go?
Yeah, so you just go to 10xhealthsystem.com. It's that simple. You can go to the App Store and download 10X Health System on our app. You can go to CardoneVentures.com. That's the holding company. We have a lot of other companies in there. You can go to GrantCardone.com. I'm telling you, wherever you go and you find us, we will find you and hunt you for life to tell you how much we want to work with you one way or another.
Thanks again for
Thank
being
you
on.
for having me on your show.
Yeah.